You are listening to Shameless Stories. This is Nicola Humber, founder of the Unbound Press, publishing imprint for magical unbound women and proud sponsor of this podcast.
Welcome to another episode of Shameless Stories. And I'm giggling because I wasn't sure if I'd press record or not. And this always happens. I'm super excited to invite onto the show Lizzie Cantopher, who is a beautiful new author and just amazing all-round magical person. I'm sure you can tell everyone exactly what you do because there's so many things that we can talk about. And we've just started working together because I'm helping you get your book out into the world, which is behind you for those of you on YouTube. Good pointing. But yeah, I'm super excited to have you on because I am thoroughly enjoying working with you. And we've talked about shame and sabotage quite a lot, haven't we?
We have, yes, indeed. Thank you so much to be on here with you.
I'm really excited to chat with you today because these conversations need to be heard, I think.
Absolutely. It's time. Yeah,
absolutely. So do you want to tell, I always start with kind of asking around like what shame means to you. Where have you felt shame in your life? That's probably a good place to start. And then we can kind of go from there.
Yes. Yeah. For me, well, it started early. I was just like Tigger bouncing about from, side to side in life. And at 5 years old, going to school and skipping into school. And within days, I was not skipping so high. After certain days, having to go into the headmistress's classroom with books and demanded that I read with the group individually. And of course, I didn't know that I couldn't read. No kid said there was anything there. So I just thought it was quite normal to read the pictures and tell the story of the picture, which I got absolutely condemned for week in, week out, until the class, age 5, liked to ridicule me on the way out. I'm pretty tough and good for me that I was good athlete. So people didn't mess with me for long as I got older, but they did giggle. And that did bring me a lot of shame because I couldn't understand why my brain wouldn't read like the others. And I did tell my mum that my brain doesn't work. And she said, don't be silly, obviously. And in those days, I'm 68, in those days, you had to get on with it and, nothing you could do. So the teachers were right. And we had to be told, that's it. So that's where the shame started. And I think I started to become the jester. And as I grew up, to keep, to fend everything away from me. So I know as I got older, I would say things like, oh, how do you spell so-and-so, so-and-so? I've forgotten what's wrong with me today. And of course, I knew I couldn't spell it, but I had to act out this thing. And so I became sort of quite eccentric in my behavior when it came to anything, not just academic, but anything like that, having to spell anything, which actually wasn't me, it wasn't my character, but I had sort of produced this character to guard it. So that was, when I look back, it's actually quite shameful that the people around me weren't helping me. They weren't coaxing me to get some help of some sort. It wasn't till I went to nursing that one of the tutors said, Lizzie, you're really good nurse. You're not going to make it. Sweetie, you're not going to make it. You're not. But she did help me. She actually came on board and she gave me things to do. She gave me essays to write. And I did manage to get through. So that's where I got help. And then I realised I was a lot worse than I'd even been telling people. So that's the shame. And I think being older now, I want to tell people, don't act. Tell them you can't do it. I cannot read properly. It takes me a long time. And thank God for computers and audiobooks. Oh my God. I just devour everything. I read everything, especially philosophy books. Spiritual books. I love to listen. I love to read.
And I think that, thank you for sharing that story with me and the listeners, because this is what I've always loved about your story, is that even though you're still, you still became a nurse, you qualified, you still managed to do all the things. Like, one thing I think you've told me about, you've ridden bikes across the Himalayas. It's never stopped you from achieving your goals or having a full life.
That's right.
You know, even though it isn't like having the, you know, not being able to read in the way that everybody else can read.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to hold you back, but
No,
equally,
exactly.
there is a lot of pain that came, you know, you were carrying around that. Like you said, you created this persona, this version of yourself to try and get laugh through it. And I think you're not alone in that. A lot of people do that, you know.
Yes. Yeah. And we have to own up and say, look, I actually can't do that bit. I mean, there's other parts. I mean, that's what's so ridiculous, is that I actually have a photographic memory. So I can go into someone's house, if you like, when I'm buying houses. I can see how it looks, how it would look, how much it would roughly cost me, how much I'd have to pay people, all of that. I can do all of that in my head, but I can't write that down. But I can see it all. And that's what's such a shame, is the things that I'm really good at are not noticed. Only the things that we're not so good, people lock onto. You know, it is ridiculous. One of the ones that I thought was the worst thing, I don't think I've even told you, is when I was doing archery. Now, in 5 years, I went from a novice to the UK's, Great Britain's number 3 in 5 years. So that's what I can do on that side of things. Every day I practice for, say, 4 or 5 hours, because I work for myself, 4 or 5 hours, and you send 3 arrows up to the target. And hopefully they're in the 9s or 10s, hopefully the 10s, because they're even better to add up. But because I'm so dyscalculate, I, to this day, cannot tell you what 3 9s are. I think they're no, they're not 32. I don't actually know. I can't remember. And yet I was doing it day in, day out, day in, sending arrows up. And there was 3 arrows at a time, 9s. That's how bad it is. So it's not like it's a little bit bad. It's really bad, you know. But we have to work it out. But what I did notice was the amount of people on that archery field in big competitions that couldn't actually add up either. So I wasn't alone.
No, you're not.
So there was something about the education system, and there are some fantastic teachers out there, I have to say, brilliant. But the education system is failing us. It's not helping us. I'm wired in a certain way that I have to be plugged in a certain way. So, for instance, I can see photographically things, but not the sign that's, say, above a shop. So if I'm going to go and buy, I don't know, a shop, and it's got a sign at the top, I can see in my eyes, when I close my eyes, I can see it says it's got 2 windows, doors, whatever, but I can't read what the sign says. It's not in my mind. So there is something, I'm wired to see words like that. So I'm curious to that. So if I was plugged in a different way, I might be able to, but nobody has come to us with this.
That's really fascinating, isn't it? Because the thing that, you know, I think they're getting better, given that I've got younger children. But you're absolutely right. The way that you learnt your words was by repetition. You learnt through sounds. And I, you know, both my daughters, I've watched them grow and watched them learn, and they both learn very differently. And that is something that, you know, my eldest daughter, we have to sit down and go through maths with her and explain it in a different way to my youngest daughter can just pick it up. She's great with numbers. Like times tables, she knows what she's doing with that. Whereas Lucy, my eldest, has to really think about it. Yeah. And, you know, myself as well, I learn very differently to my husband. And I think that's the thing. It's like, it's about understanding that there are going to be people that absorb information differently, and there is no wrong way of doing that.
I mean, I know when I was a gymnast, because I would do things by copying. So when the coach told me or showed me how to do something, I would mimic what they were doing. So it became really good. And that's what I do. But I can't seem to do the same. When I look at a word and I can't recognize it, I have nothing to hold it with. I could see your name and I can see Sarah, and I have a picture of what Sarah looks like. It's an image, so I can put that together. But if it's a new word, or it's a word that I have not seen before, I can't start to put it together, because I don't know where it's going. And it's a most peculiar feeling. that you're reading along. The best way, actually, to tell this is if I'm reading something that has been redacted. That's what happens. It's almost as if those words disappear. So I'm reading, and there is nothing for me to look at. I can't see anything. Can't see anything that resembles something that I know. So it's just as if a piece of paper has been redacted, and it's almost impossible to read it. And yet, as children, we were told to read it. It's just there. It's right in front of you. Read what you can see. But if you can't see anything, you can't read it.
It's impossible, right?
It is impossible, yeah. And that is really where the book came from. Was, I think I may have said to you before, is this strange feeling that I've had for years and years, is the minute after I die, and I don't mind, that will be the minute I never have to worry about, can I read something or can I understand it? I never have to worry about that. And that was so delicious that I don't want to kill myself. I'm having a lovely life. But that was one of the benefits that was going to, is that I never have to concern myself about not being able to read again. And then I thought, why don't I change this? Why don't I change something? Why don't I try and make, you've heard me say this before, make the impossible possible? Just actually try. And that's what happened with this book, is this story came from something impossible for me to do. And I actually proved, and I am quite competitive, but I did prove
that
I could do it, and I thought, it once I've done that, oh, that's be it, that's finished. But honestly, Sarah, stuff that's coming in my head, I want to write all this stuff that's coming in my head now. It's like, this is a key that has just opened this cage up, and I really want to fly. But I actually want to take other people with me. I want to go and unlock all the cages that we've been put in for whatever reason, this sort of self-doubt that is ingrained in us. And I want to say, let's try something different. Let's go a different angle,
And that's so important, is the reframe, isn't it? It's we've made a choice to go down this road, but we can always choose to come off that path and go in a different direction. And that is the fact that you kind of had no choice at school. You kind of had to just go along with it, because that was all that was available. And I guess you kind of made peace with that. But I guess what we can do now is, now you have that foresight of, well, that is, that was an impossible situation. And I'm guessing it's improving, because your son, you told me a story about your son as well.
Oh, yes, watching him when he was laying on the floor. He was only, I don't know, 2.5, 3, and there was something about him. He's laying on the floor and he'd got a book and he was turning it, and I looked at his face. He's got one eye closed. I thought, oh my god, I know this. My daughter didn't seem to have it. She has other things, with her brain, which are absolutely fine, but she's sort of what do you call it, neurodiverse. She's got her own things going on. But when I saw my son, honestly, my heart fell out of my chest. I had to do something. I had to do something different. He couldn't go through this. I couldn't let him. And I did everything that I could. I even got him into a private dyslexic school, and had to fight with my ex-husband to get the money for him to go there. And so he could at least have the education that he deserved, because he's got a really clever brain, but he wasn't going anywhere if it was going to be the same as mine. He was going to have to just fight. And it's too hard a fight. People don't realize. It's a bit like backache. People go, well, what do you mean? What, how bad is it? People don't
constant.
Yeah, it's constant. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's just like saying to somebody, close your eyes. Right, now tell me what you can see. You can't see anything. So we need help. And that's what I want to do, is to find ways to unlock the potential in people. And not everybody is meant to be academic. We can learn in different ways. We can, excel in different ways. Like for me, the athletic side, absolutely top notch, brilliant, off I go. Didn't matter what I do, I'm going to be good at it. My dad used to say, it doesn't matter what you do, you're going to be all right at that. Come to writing, it's like crash and burn. So on the one hand, and so of course what's happened is, whenever I did really well, and it's happening with the book, a few people I've shown the book, And I'm really embarrassed by its ness. It's because people, I know, because they're enjoying it and they say, oh gosh, this is wonderful, and you think, all right, don't show off because you're going to fall any minute now. And they'll find out that, perhaps somebody else wrote it. I don't know. It's like, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous what goes on in your head. And so I'm trying to stand very still. And that, I think, with the shameless thing is stand still in something that you've done that is impossible for you to do, and lean into that. That's what I'm trying to do, is lean in and try and say thank you to people, because I just want to run when somebody says, I met somebody today who helped me right at the beginning, and she said, oh, Lizzie, this is so lovely. And it's like, oh, this is embarrassing. This is so embarrassing. This sort of thing that's going on in my head. Any minute she's going to find out there's a massive mistake somewhere. Gosh, and that's just a product of growing up through the schools that I did, and them not knowing. So I'm trying to stand still and think, actually, this is going to be all right. It doesn't matter if it sells millions of copies or 5 copies. It doesn't matter. It's the fact, Lizzie, it's there. You did it.
Yeah.
And that's the shameless part, is that, gosh, you actually conquered it. You conquered something that was so bad in your life. And I think that's the important thing. It doesn't matter where it goes. It's us. For me, if it just sits on my shelf, that's okay. I'm okay with that, because it's a reminder that I'm not what they told me I was. I wasn't stupid. I actually was intelligent in a different way. I'm just wired differently, if that makes sense.
I just find that it's just such a beautiful story, because I can see your little 5-year-old self going, we did it. We wrote the book, and, children, I mean, that the education system then and now, I mean, there is still, you're still judged on your ability to, my daughters have just gone through their little SATs exams and things like that. And it's just like, it's always a measure on the teaching, not the actual child itself. And like, that's the thing, we're lucky enough to be in a situation where we can acknowledge that things can be different, that children learn differently, that we are all different and unique, and that's wonderful. And one size doesn't fit all, and that's all right. Like, it's okay to not be, I
was looking at it in nature. We never ever condemn a frog for not being able to fly. We never think to say that stupid frog can't fly, can jump, but it can't fly. What's the matter with it? And yet we do it to ourselves. If I'd been one of the boys at school and not and not been able to read, I actually would have had the cane. It was only because I was a girl that the girls didn't have the cane.
God.
I would have had the cane. I would have had 6 of the best for not being able to read. And that's so frightening for a little child. We wouldn't dare do that now. But that was the time I grew up in. And you think, but when you're saying to an adult, my brain doesn't work, and they go, no, it's okay. Shush, shush, keep going. But the minute, I mean, I wasn't the parent that the schools wanted, because if there was anything, if I could smell anything going on, especially with my son, I was in that school, I was tearing it apart. You can't do that now, but I would go in there and I would, don't you dare speak to him like that. Don't you dare make him do that.
I think, that when a child has neurodiversity, it's displayed in lots of different ways, and that's where they're not trained for that. Like, that's the issue. The issue isn't necessarily the teacher itself. It's the systemic system.
It is the system,
that is not prepared for that, especially after like the last, COVID. Neurodiversity is becoming much more, or people are more aware of it. I don't think it's more prevalent. I think it's always been there. It's just people haven't kind of either admitted that they have it, or they struggle, or they are they're just getting on with it, I guess. I mean,
one of the things I thought about was a gas oven and an electric oven. They have to be plugged in differently. One has to have gas coming through it, and one has to have electricity coming through. It's the same appliance, but it's wired in differently. And that's how we are. We're the same appliance, but we're so different. So we have to figure out which ones. And you'd probably find there's a certain amount of, what do you say, diversity in how to plug that thing in. Because a friend of mine is dyslexic, but she's very academic. She has no visual at all. It's like, ooh, that's interesting, because my whole world is visual. As we're speaking, I've said about the cooker, I've got 2 cookers in my brain now, and I'm sort of just working that out, and I'll think of something else in a minute. Do you see what I mean? So we're very different. So we have to be plugged in differently, but we have the same title.
Yes.
But we react very differently to what's going on. So I think when I look at my children, I treated them academically, if you like, differently. So I would try and read to my daughter. And at the age of 5 or 6, she said, Mummy, I'll read it. I think I read better than you. So she would read.
Oh, bless her.
I know. And she's absolutely brilliant. I mean, she's an incredible writer. She's incredible. With my son, I would read with him and we would skip along all through it, and I'd be making things up, and he wasn't noticing that it wasn't the right story. His brain was very similar to mine, so he was cool with that. Whereas my daughter needed every single word, and probably best if I wasn't there because it's messing the story up.
Mind you, I think I was that kid that said you've missed a page, and my eldest is the same. It's like you've missed, because I'd get bored by it. Like, come on, do we have to read the story again? Do we have to read that story again? It's so boring. And then I'd skip pages, and then I'd get called out on it. Yes, that's. I mean, I remember like when Amy started to read, she came home with the picture books, and they'd start by, you'd have to like talk through the pictures. She's much happier doing that because she was making up all kinds of stories, and it was very, very interesting to see all the ideas that came out of her.
Yes.
Yeah,
Well,
it's funny you say
yes,
that.
it's interesting you say that, because the other thing that would happen is quite often I'd be at school, I don't know, just looking out of the window, because this is, I don't know, this is 1, very boring, and 2, I'm not going to be able to do it anyway. So I've gotten to the point where I'm sort of like 7, 8, 9. And if the teacher had come up to me and said, now, Elizabeth, because it would have been Elizabeth in those days, Elizabeth, what can you see out of that window? I probably would have told her about the elves and the fairies and the animals moving along and having a conversation. And she might have said, oh, why don't we write that down? That would be good. But what happened was I got the chalk thrown at me. I was told to get out of the class for being, not engaging. And nobody ever asked me any questions about the fairies that I could see.
It's fascinating, isn't it? That it's a very different interaction with a very different outcome.
Yes. And I mean, what happens is, because of the way my brain is wired in, I actually do see things. I do see ghosts. I do see stuff. And people do think I'm a bit weird. But it's the way my brain is wired, because I'm very sensitive to energy. So I'm looking at energy, I guess, the same way as a blind person can hear, if they've got hearing as well, that they can hear far better than
the enhanced senses. I like that.
I know when I was nursing on nights, I think I might have said to you before that when I was on nights, depending on, because it would be very quiet, you had probably 40 beds on those big Victorian wards, and I could hear the rustling of sheets. Now, I could tell you by the rustling of the sheets whether that person needed a wee, a poo, was in distress, needed to get out. Yeah, just by the rustling of the sheets. And a lot of people go, Lizzie, you're a little bit, but it was because I used those senses, because I was there all night for, a week or so. And I started to understand what the rustling was. It's, it's just one of those things. And we don't tap into all those things. We only seem to tap into the academic, A stream stuff, which doesn't give us anything else to hold on to in life,
Yeah, but I love that. The fact that, you are living shamelessly and have done, because you could have let that episode with your teacher dictate the rest of your life. You could have not decided to go into nursing. And, you were telling me about that story about how you had a sister help you.
Oh, she was brilliant.
Go through all of that.
Yeah, she was brilliant. I mean, as she said, you're a really good nurse, but you're never going to make it. you're not going to get the exams. And she literally gave me things to write about. She would ask me, she would give me essays to write about. She would ask me to write about what I had done on the ward, what we had done with the patients. And she'd say, don't worry about the spelling, don't worry about punctuation, just keep writing, keep writing. And I think I got something, it was ridiculous. It was like the first time I took the exam, the ordinary exam, the hospital exams, I got 3% for writing my name, and then I just froze. And that's when she said, you're not going to get there. And that's what we had 3 months. I had 3 months to do it in. And she gave me these essays to do. And I got something like 98%. It was like ridiculous. It's because she taught me to sit down and write about what I could see. And because she knew I was visual, I could write down what I was looking at, as opposed to saying, I don't know, write down about, a hysterectomy or something. I don't know how to write that down, but I can do it if I can see it. And that's exactly what happened. And for some reason, I was meant to do that. Yeah.
And I love that, because it's almost like you're telling stories about the things you see.
Yes. Yeah. Because that's exactly how my life is. Somebody will tell me something, it becomes the image, and that's how I can relay it to somebody else. And then I can write it down because I'm looking at it. And that's just how the story was, because I could actually see it and hear the conversation.
Let's dive into a little bit about how the Nightingale arrived then, because there was a tiny bit of, you had a bit of a moment, a sliding door moment around a bookshop.
Yes, they had, in this bookshop, she had some shelves and it had dyslexia written on it, ADHD. And I happened to say, that's interesting. And I said, is it for dyslexics or is it about dyslexics? So she brought me one of the books over and she said, oh, yes, it's for, both. Here's a child's book. And as I opened it up, I went, oh, my God. And I just started reading, just like, and my friend was with me. She's an author, she's a published author. She's got loads of books. Very, she does it. And we were talking about the fact that I could read. And she, Lizzie, what do you mean you can read? I've known her for over 30 years. And I didn't tell her that I had this sort of dyslexia. I said, I don't spell well, whatever, and left it there. Anyway, so we're all in tears because here I am reading, going, oh my God, there's nothing wrong with me. And she said, what do you mean, nothing wrong with you? It's like, I am so dyslexic, I cannot read. Anyway, so the woman in the shop said, why don't you write something? I said, no idea what to write. I have no idea what to write. She'd write your story. It's like, I'd love to, and I've tried to, but it's like, well, I wasn't very good at school and now I'm okay. And, I've managed to do things. And then a few days later, literally sort of instantly, this download came into my head at the kitchen table while I was doing a journal. And it's like, my God, this is a story. So I literally had one finger in the air watching this animation go past while I wrote for 3 hours. Yeah, I gave that to another lady I know who was a teacher, and she edited it and put some punctuation in, obviously, because it clearly needed it. And then sort of it started to move from there. It's sort of like it's got a life of its own. It's like it's meant to be now for some reason. Yeah. It wasn't meant to be 10 years ago, when I thought of it. So I'm fascinated. I'm as fascinated by it as other people are when they see it. And also I have to do this sort of out thing, which I'm not sure I'm happy about, saying, oh, well, I'm out, I'm dyslexic. It's like, oh, this is getting a bit repetitive. I think I liked it when I didn't say stuff and people just thought I was a bit silly. But what I've noticed is the amount of people going, oh, thank God, because I am too. And it's like, oh, okay, this is opening things up for people. Conversation.
It really is.
Yeah.
It really is. I mean, you just like at the time of recording, there was a big news story around Jamie Oliver and his kind of march on dealing with dyslexic and neurodiverse in schools. You had Chris Packham with ADHD and dyslexia and all of that as well. And there's just a real kind of, there's a surge of, it's an education. There will be a whole negative narrative around, oh, look, everyone's dyslexic, everyone's got ADHD. But like I said, kind of going back to my original point, I just think that there is an awareness that wasn't there before.
Yes. And well, what I'm thinking was, yes, we've got these names. I don't like this label. I don't like it. But what if it is the system and not us? Like I was saying about the ovens, the cookers. Maybe we are wired differently. And that and I mean, I'm not saying that we're not neurodiverse. I'm not saying that because people would get on the bandwagon and go, oh, what's she saying? That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying, what if we are just wired differently and we need to be taught differently? To become a plumber, you can't be taught basket weaving. It doesn't work. You can't become a plumber because it's the wrong method. You know, just what I mean. And I wonder if we could have education that is towards that person's needs. And there must be groups of us, the same as there's groups of, you know, amazing athletes, you know, of all sorts, but you teach them differently. The footballers are taught differently to the hockey players. It's a different game. You're taught a different thing. So maybe our brains are, a lot of them, different. There may be a lot that are very similar, and we could be taught in that way. I know education doesn't teach me in this, I call it the linear way, it may be the wrong way, but this way that I've been taught, it didn't work for me. I had to find out a different way. So by being shown something, by visual, then I can learn. I absolutely can excel at things. The archery, the reason I was really good at it was because, one, I did it every day, and two, the coach actually got inside my head and told me exactly what to do with my muscles in my arm, not how to throw an arrow, but how to work my body.
Yeah, so enabling you to do what you needed to do. And like you say, that's a processing thing. I know that I have to do stuff myself before I believe I can do it.
Exactly.
That makes sense. So not everybody, like you say, not everybody.
No, that's right. That's right. So we do need different ways of being taught, definitely, and not just say 3 different ways, lots of different ways. And we have to find out in those early years what those children do. So I wondered if maybe children were to play more rather than trying to get them academically ready, is just by playing, watching. Who are the leaders? Who are the ones that are picking stuff up? Who is the one that's sitting reading? I know my partner and I are so different. In a magazine, in all the years we've had magazines, I have very rarely read one. I only look at the pictures. She looks at the pictures, but she reads everything. But we can come to the same conclusion. I can tell you something about that picture because I've got reference to it from somewhere else. I don't know. I know where that house is, or I know whatever. And she can tell me from what she's learned from the reading. Totally different fish.
Love it. But that's why you work, right? That's probably why you work.
Absolutely.
I could talk to you all day, as you know, because we often do. But I would love, do you have any words of wisdom you'd like to leave for our listeners?
I think what I would say is find your truth, find out who you really are, and then move forward with that. Just be your truth.
I love that. So you can get hold of a copy of Lizzie's book, The Nightingale Who Lost Her Song.
Yes.
On all the places, Amazon, Waterstones, Gardeners, etc. Lots of places you can pick up the book. And if you want to learn a bit more about what Lizzie's up to, she has a website as well, www.lizziecantopher.com.
Thank you very much. I love it. Thank you.
And I will put all of the details in the show notes. So if you want to get hold of Lizzie, you can find it on socials as well, I believe. Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
But yeah, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. I love your story anyway. So it just gives people, I think it just shows that it doesn't matter if you just keep making positive choices and don't allow other people to influence those choices.
Exactly.
You can live a shameless life.
Exactly. Yes. And be happy. Yes. Thank you, Sarah. It was lovely. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for coming on, and thank you for listening, everybody. Let me know if you have any comments or whatever. Always open to improve, to respond, so do reach out. So for those of you who aren't aware, I am turning Shameless Stories into a book. It's going to be a beautiful compendium of shame stories, but from a place of power. It's going to be a bit similar to this book, Wake Up Mother. You can still buy this, by the way. It's a bit like a sandwich, so we'll talk a lot about the origins of shame, where it came from, what it means to be shameless, and then we will be including a series of stories from amazing authors around shame and connections to various emotions. And at the back of the book, because I love a sandwich, we will provide some guidance, some insights, and some journaling exercises to help move people through shame. Basically, the whole goal is to help people celebrate living shamelessly. And if you would like to be involved, I am taking applications for inclusion right now.